Good afternoon to you all. As we approach this 21st Sunday of Ordinary Time, I am now officially a retired deacon. The permanent diaconate is an office in the Catholic Church, and Isaiah in our first reading shows us that although for a variety of reasons personnel might change, the office remains an order to be filled by another. Of course, I don't stop being a deacon any more than a priest stops being a priest. But maybe we need to ask the question, who will follow in the footsteps of Dennis Egan, the first deacon for Anglesey, and Tony Griffiths, to become the next permanent deacon for this island? During this time, as lockdown begins to ease slightly, we need to think about church as it has been, and church how it will need to be in the future. It's almost as though coronavirus has pushed the pause button to give us that opportunity to ask some hard questions. We're all familiar with the question that Jesus put to his disciples as to who he was. And the answer that each one of us gives to that question will shape our thinking. Firstly, regarding our relationship with God, and then it will shape our thinking as to what church is for. Why are we part of it? And are we actually doing, as church, what Jesus commanded us to do? Some years ago, I went out to talk to some lads who were just mucking around outside our house. I don't know quite how it happened, but I talked to them about Jesus. And one of the lads said, "Who is Jesus?" It was then that I began to realise just how much our modern culture had changed from when I was growing up. And yet, if we're honest, the way that we do church hasn't really changed since our childhood. Yes, I know Vatican II made some visual and language changes, but we still open our church doors and expect people just to come in. Except they don't anymore. If, for us, Jesus really is the Christ, the Son of the living God, then instead of trying to work God out and penetrate his motives or understand his methods, as our second reading puts it, which is actually impossible, why don't we just trust him and do what he's asked us to do? Namely, preach the gospel, make disciples, and celebrate the Eucharist. We have the greatest message on earth, but we're not communicating it to those who really need to hear it. So, while we are on pause, that's something that we need to think about. So, to close, have you ever wondered why at the end of our gospel reading, Jesus gave the disciples strict orders not to tell anyone that he was the Christ? Could it be that it was because they hadn't yet received the power of the Holy Spirit. And knowledge without power achieves nothing. May God bless you all, and may he continue to keep you safe.